See, I had a question right before I stopped, but I have such a short memory nowadays because I am pushing 50. So.
I was 50 again.
Seems like I tell you, when I was 17, I joined the Navy. It seems like yesterday when I think about it, just like went like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, we talked about your house burning, and that's what I was going to ask. Did your room get damaged?
Oh yeah, it was okay. All the beddings, the windows were blown out. There was none of that, and it was an open sky. The roof was gone, and we were getting. Now I know that from my father. Okay, my father said we had 8 incinerator bombs in our bedroom upstairs because we wanted to know how come this got burnt, not the rest of it. Well, they were quick enough and saved it. The house immediately next to us was hit by a bomb. It was completely gone, okay? And we were just lucky to get the burn bombs, incinerator bombs. The top was gone, but the bottom was still there. So we were very fortunate just to have that. Other houses, the whole town had damage, of course. And God, I can still smell that awful smell when everything burns. You know, it stinks. It's horrible. I lost a cousin that way. My mother's brother in town had one child, one daughter. She was in mines at work, and mines really got hit. It was just leveled. And she got killed being in a basement in the building with all other people, employees and what have you. And this building really got hit, and the gas pipes leaked, and they all suffocated. And I remember Father telling us about it, and we just could not imagine anything like that, but we all made faces of pity, and my father and my mother started to cry, and of course the kids joined the parents in crying that our cousin Katarina will no more come to see us. And so family-wise, I just lost this girl as a cousin. She must have been 5 years older than me. And one more boy, my mother's other sister. She had one child, one son. He was drafted, and he had to go to the Russian front. Now, in those days, there was no discussion what went on in the Russian front. I know it from TV on history, what went on. They all froze to death. They didn't have the clothes to keep them warm, the German soldiers, okay? So I picture myself, my poor cousin Willie, he was 19. He must have been one of them. But I lost no uncles, not my father, so we were very fortunate in that.
Did the loss of your cousin was just hard being a child, it must have been hard to understand death to start with. Did you had many relatives just passed away naturally at that time?
No, you see, although all the towns in Germany are so clustered together, it still took time and means to get to them. You had to go either by bicycle, and how can you travel with 6 kids? It's ridiculous, impossible. Or you went to the bus, and in the next town you took the trolley car connection to get to them. But during the war, everybody had no food. So when my mother was told from my father, hey, my father and my mother are coming tomorrow, my mother went to pieces. Heinrich, how can you do this? I have nothing to serve them. I've got no coffee. You know what we have. So when my grandfather on my father's side and his wife come, my grandmother, They brought their own, whatever it was, because they also knew with 6 kids to feed, how can we eat what they have? Huh? So gradually it got so bad, nobody went nowhere. My grandfather, they stayed where they lived. We stayed there. Aunts there, cousins there. You just grew apart. You lost contact. And I've never seen him again. After the war, how old was I when the war ended in 45 in May? 14? Was I 14? 45 minus 31 is what? 14? Yeah, 14. But a dumb 14, a naive 14, not like the 14 years of today, huh? Nothing like that. Well, the war's over, no more air raids, no more bombing, great. The house gets built up, good. Let's go being normal, whatever that means. And then the occupations came to town, what, 45? Sure. Woke up one morning, German houses have shutters, or Rollladen. What's a Rollladen in English? Roll shutters. My father's house was shutters. You open the window and the shutters on the outside. You grab the shutters, you hook them, you close the window, and that's your instant drapes. Okay. Mama, the first one up every morning, she opens up the kitchen window, her bedroom window, get the air in, first thing, you know. I still got that habit today. And God almighty, she screamed bloody murder. Heinrich! Yeah, there's something out there. And Panzer. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Father got up, looked. By that time, we heard it upstairs, mother screaming, something's terribly wrong. So we all opened our windows, and my brothers, they were at a Panzer, a real life big Panzer, a tank. Americans, okay? They were parked outside, and no doubt they knew when the shutters are closed, the people are still in bed. It was early in the morning. And as soon as they noticed that somebody wants to open up, there was this knock on the door. My mother wouldn't go, my father wouldn't let her go. But behind my father were not us sisters. Behind my father were the 3 brothers. Curious. And whatever was said, we don't understand English. And you do with motions. You start using your hands to communicate, okay? And these GIs came in the house, and they were nice, they were friendly, they were armed. We saw all this and scared. Oh, we were scared to death. We were afraid they would take the little food we would have, you know. Had no idea what they wanted, but whatever it was, my father was behind them or ahead of them, opening doors. Went upstairs, went everywhere, the basement, they combed the yard, they went everywhere. And then they left. And then the tank left. But that was a morning my mother will never forget. The first thing you see is a tank in front of the door. And that was the occupation. The Americans were settling in town.
So were you afraid of them? You didn't know what they were up to?
What do I know what occupation means? How do I know what they're doing there?
But you knew they were the ones that had been bombing you.
No, I did not know it. They were just airplanes. They were so high up. I didn't know what I know now, their logos. I know now that the Americans came by day and the British flew the night. I know all this now, but way back then as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, I mean, who's to tell you? My father never talked about it.
Did you, when we were talking about outside, you were pretty young, but Germany had been in a Great Depression after the First War.
Yeah, but that was in, what year was that? 29, like you people say? Well, I was born in 31. How would I know about this?
I mean, and you were born in the time that things started to change, though, the economy improved. And
So I was a baby in diapers. What do I know?
but saying that, well, let's say in your experience in Germany, I think I can put this.
Well, let's just say from
That-
1939 on.
Just your, yeah, from 39 on, your view of things, because some people, they look at, even me being second generation American, but German ancestry, that you sort of feel this guilt.
Guilt?
Yeah, in having grown up as especially having a name like mine, like Adolf. Growing up.
But don't be ashamed of it.
Oh, I'm not ashamed of it, but there is this perception people have of the Germans are evil, that they all knew what was going on, but in reality, you were just a family.
But good Lord, every country, every nation got the good and the bad. Not everybody is bad. Not all Germans are bad. Not all Americans are bad. The Japs, the Chinese. There's good people too. The Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. My goodness, when you see the movies on history, other Japanese people, my God, did my country really do this? They were against it. So why not the same thing in Germany? Why not the same thing in Russia, wherever?
But yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
No.
That you were, that your view of Germany, I mean, you did. Everybody thinks you knew. Everybody knew it was evil. Everybody knew this.
Well, maybe some people knew more than we did. Good for them. I wish we did. I wish I did.
But in your view, everything, it was just family.
I was just so young. I was busy. I was helping my parents what needed to be done. I looked at it as chores. It had to be. I didn't know nothing else. I didn't know better.
We interviewed a man named Alfred Wagner in Richland, Washington, and Alfred Wagner was older than you. He's probably about, I think he was 17 in 1945. And Alfred Wagner, he grew up by Wiesbaden.
That's close to my home as well, yes.
And he said that in the very last year of the war, he volunteered because things were going so badly. And
but he was a boy.
Yes. And but what he said about the end of the war, he said that he says losing the war was one thing, because the war ended and we had lost. But he said when I found out what had happened, I felt like the rug had been pulled out from underneath me. When he found out about the atrocities that had happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, how could he have known about this when at age 17?
Yeah, well, that's it. He said that people's perception that that it was well known is not true. He said like he said, I was a German doing what I did. I was doing what I was doing for my country, and that I had no idea, which I believe is true, is that most people didn't know what was going on.
I had no idea anything like that happened until I came to the United States and understanding English. I didn't come to the United States in 1953 and right away I know how to talk like as I do today. No. It happened when I knew English besides yes, no, and okay. It took years for me to understand and translate each word and put it into a sentence and then try to retain all this. I didn't want to lose my German language, but I had to in order to learn the English. I had to go into stores, all this stuff in front of me. I have no idea what it is. I mean, if it was a clothing store, yeah, sure, I see the shirts and all that sort of thing. But hey, how about the first day I stepped into an American grocery store in Oklahoma, in Bristow, Oklahoma, where I wound up with my soldier husband at the time. And his mother and I and my children, we went to town walking. It was a nice day. She introduced me to her neighbors. This is my son's Bob's new German wife and family, blah, blah, blah. Go to a grocery store, and I almost went bananas. I couldn't believe everything there. And I had just left home. Nothing is there. How much is it? How can I get it to Germany? The little money my divorced husband, I divorced him some years later. He was an Air Force sergeant. Of course, that's what he was when I met him in Wiesbaden. If he had $1 million, I'm sure he would have given to me every penny of it. I would have bought that whole store, get it to my mother, get everything over there to feed my family. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen it in my life. And there was names. Yeah, what does it mean? My ex-mother-in-law says, well, in English. Well, she spoke Chinese. I don't know what she said. What is it? Is it something to eat? Yeah. What? Well, she bought it, and at home she opened, and then I knew it was beans. I mean, get the idea?
Now, things after the war, I mean, things were very bad in Germany. I mean, there was still...
Good heavens, it took years. We kept writing, of course, all that time. And when my mother, for instance, when my baby sister's turn came to go to Holy Communion, there was no white dress for her to wear like it was in 1939 with me. And I went everywhere looking for a communion dress. And when I did see one, my ex-husband at the time says, that costs too much money. I can't give you that money to send to your sister, And so I remember sending my baby sister a robe. It was just an ordinary flannel red robe. It had a pattern in it. And I sent that home, and I sent what I could send for her communion was a pair of white shoes, communion shoes. I managed that to get the money from him. Fine. And you know what? I don't remember when her communion day was, but it was past. And here come a letter from my mother, and there's a picture in it. My baby sister, Marita, in her communion outfit. Guess what she had on? I got that picture somewhere. I'll dig it up for you. A candle, pictured in my mother's yard at home, okay? At that time. She had a candle, fine. It was supplied by the church anyway, so no problem there. She had her candle, not as pretty decorated as mine was. Guess what she wore for a communion dress? That robe I sent her. She wore that, and I could see the white shoes. And I said to my ex-husband at the time, look at this. Look what Marita is wearing for communion. And look at my picture, and look at that picture, and that, and that, and that. She couldn't find a communion dress for my baby sister when she went to communion, and I don't know the date, but she had to be under 10, at least 8, and not younger. She was born 44, and 8 years makes what? 1952, 53. I was already in the United States. So it was in the summer of 53 when she went to communion. I left home in January. Communion is usually in April. Wearing a robe. That's how long it took for Germany after the war to get the goods, or stores to build, to have a store, and then word to get it.
So in the occupation, when the Americans came, they actually came into your town and you had soldiers there?
Oh yeah, the main track, what you would call it over here, Hauptstraße, the main street. We had some gorgeous single dwelling homes, all brick, nothing wood like here. And they were owned by the good, the well-to-do people, like my doctor was one of them, okay? The lawyers had a house like that. The teachers had a house like that. And that's where most of the Americans, how do you call it, confiscated? And they were living in that, yeah, and all their equipment parked on the street, sure.
So did you I know that the Americans were supposed to fraternize, but did you ever speak?
Well, no, I didn't, but my brother next to me was a good one at that. You couldn't keep him at home because he either saw or heard that they had candy, which we hadn't seen in years, and stuff like that, you know. My brother came home one day and had a duffel bag over his shoulder. Now, picture him with his polio leg, you know, half a boy, half in this duffel bag, and he brings it to my mother. My mother says, Herbert, what have you got there? You gotta wash, Mom. Moody. This is laundry from an American soldier. You gotta wash this. I ain't got no soap. I can't wash that. So he took that duffel bag, turned it upside down. Everything comes out from underwear, socks, handkerchiefs, uniforms. And here comes soap. Ivory soap and brown soap, whatever you call it, American. And then my brother told her, that's got to get washed, and then I got to take it back. You got to iron it. You iron it. You're the tailor. You help ironing, huh? So we started a laundry shop. And not just one duffel bag. Pretty soon he needed our garden cart. He came home with it full. And they were all tagged, identified who's what and who's what. So Mother now had to figure out how to do all this laundry and not get the laundry mixed up from this guy to this guy. I mean, how do you do this? I don't know how she did it, but she managed. She did it. So all of it was washed, boiled. There was no washing machine. We had a boiler in the basement that heated even the water for us to bathe in the basement. Our bathtub was in the basement, not upstairs. And so the white clothes and towels, everything white, was boiled, and we had a thing that stumped it. And then it was heaped out into a great big vat. My father put it up high so Mother could do the scrubbing, and of course me too. And then it was scrubbed, then it was rinsed, then it was taken upstairs, put on the line, let it dry, take it in, put it on the table, and to iron it. And then it got ironed. The shirts for the GIs at the time, you had to make 3 creases in the back of the shirts. God, they looked good. I liked that part. And one up front. And then my brother Herbert would have all the clothes in the duffel bag that's folded and the uniforms in hangers. And he would return them in evening hours. So I guess the GIs were busy during the day, whatever it is they're doing. And he delivered the laundry at nights. And there was no money. We needed goods. Money was no good, couldn't buy nothing. But he came home. Some, what do you want to say? A client from the laundry returned to one GI would give my brother more, and this guy maybe less or different. But before you knew it, we were in soap. Hallelujah, we could wash and scrub and do as we pleased. And candy and stuff. We had to learn and find out what stuff in cans were. Well, they're rations, GI rations. Some things we liked, some we figured out what it is. My mother did most of the testing. No, I don't know what this is. So my brother took it back, and somehow, what is this, you know? So that was good, because Mother had stuff to cook. Mother had Crisco, cocoa, coffee, candy for us kids, and my father's cigarettes. That was number 1. Make sure I get cigarettes. And he did. A pack at a time, Camels. Yeah. So that went on until the town emptied. I don't remember when that was. I ain't got a clue. Excuse me. But I would say that lasted a good full year. We were busy. We were busy washing and ironing. And my brother being a tailor, and he did the ironing of the shirts and uniforms, huh? And of course, the GIs want their uniforms back in good shape. no wrinkles, no nothing. And my brother got most of the stuff than the others, you know. Yeah. So we were good at that. So we did that for a year. I'm sure it was a good year.
So during the war, you probably never saw much sugar.
Everything was rationed. Like I said, sugar wasn't that necessary, I don't think, to my mother. I mean, you can do without sweets. How she managed to pay, whatever sugar she had, she managed it if she had the flour to put a cake together. My mother's concern was the dinner. Never mind in between. We can skip a meal, no big deal, okay? You can go out in the yard, get an apple. It was the meat, the potatoes, the cabbage, to make the gravy, to put something substantial in your stomach, to get my father to work. He had to swing this hammer all day long. The guy was skinny as a rail from not having what it takes to put a little fat on the body. That was my mother's concern.
Were you worried about your father?
No, because I was as skinny as he was. What I ate, he ate. What he ate, I ate with him. We shared things.
Did you must have, in your trips with your father in the country,
on the bicycle?
You must have had a real special relationship with him because you had all that time to talk to him.
Well, you can't really talk while you bicycle. He would be up front leading me. So he would say, probably, you got to stop to go potty, or are you tired? Do you want to take a break? But you cannot carry a conversation. You cannot bicycle side by side. I mean, you know, besides there is the street with cars or horse and wagon. No, we just talked when we got home or in the ditch eating a sandwich, like that.
Now, tobacco was hard to find. Was he able to get cigarettes?
Good thing. Good question. My father's father owned a cigar store in Mainz. Well known. If there are any Mainzers around out here in the United States, his cigar shop was Wolf, W-O-L-F. And it was near the Hauptbahnhof in Mainz. Hauptbahnhof is the main terminal for railroads. Outside of that, that was his cigar store. And through his father, my grandfather smoked nothing but cigars. Both of them, matter of fact. Both grandfathers on both sides. And my father was supplied through his father. So my father did have smokes, but we could not always get to Mainz to get them, or grandfather to bring them, okay? And so when my brothers knew from my father, wherever you are, if I have cigarettes or not, if you see a butt, pick it up, bring it home. I decide if I can roll it in the paper and make me a cigarette. And that was just something you did without having been told to do. My father needed cigarettes.
In the fire, when your house was burned, was there something that was really dear to you that you lost?
What did I lose?
When the fire
that burned the house?
Yeah, was there something that really was special to you that you lost?
Well, of course, the beds and the bedding. The feather beds. You call them down comforters or something like that? Oh, feather ticks are better than down comforters. There's no comparison. Of course they were gone. Of course they were missed. Well, who's going to replace that? The Red Cross helped us out with pillows and blankets, but it wasn't what we had. You know, this hurt my mother more than us kids. We didn't care what we slept on as long as we were warm and had a bed. It was Mom felt bad, Father felt bad, you know. And my father we had geese, so we always had feathers. But it was to get the material again, to make a pillow, to stuff the feathers in, and then you had to have a pillowcase to put over it. That was none to have. So, yeah, it was, but we managed. We were not particular. To this day, I'm particular about nothing. I don't think.
Mom, she actually made those comforters.
Oh yeah, my mother was she had her master's in sewing, so she knew how to do everything. She knew how to sew. It's to get the material to do what you need, huh?
You know, I have a girlfriend from past, and her mother grew up in Germany with four brothers, and they spent most of the war running from the Russians. And my girlfriend had this very nice down comforter, very thick. And she told me one day that was her grandmother had given it to her.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it is.
And that comforter, her grandmother carried all through Europe with her.
Oh yeah. This is what kept you alive, is warmth, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was real special that she still had
Yeah,
it.
you know, when these comforters, when you say, like you just did, is from her grandmother. Now picture the feathers inside. They're old. So what do? I tell you how you do it. You open it up, and you take some of the feathers out, or all of it. And if you have your own geese and ducks to pluck the feathers, like I did with my mother, you fill it up. It can still be your grandmother's comforter, but you renewed the old feathers. You can't wash it. Dry cleaning in Germany in those days, what is that? We hang them out to air. And then we have a thing out of wicker. It's got a long handle and it's got a head. I don't know how to describe it in English. And you hit it to get whatever dust, if any, I'm sure there is, and to freshen it, to liven it again. You leave it out all day, bring it in the evening, you got a fresh bed. And it smells refreshing. Oh, you sleep like a baby. And we do the same thing with wax, you know. Not big as that, scatter it, hang it over a line, and just beat the dust out of it. I've done that too.
Well, you can see why that would be such a big loss to you then, to lose your feather bed.
Oh, yeah, good heavens, yes. Who wants to sleep with a blanket when you're used to all this cuddly feather stuff?
So you didn't have, did you have, you said that you weren't the daughter your mother wanted. Were you weren't really a person for frilly dresses and dolls, were you? Or?
Well, there was no occasion. I just had one dress, period, anyway. I had one dress to go to church on Sundays. We had week clothes and we had Sunday clothes. And my children to these days, I brought that up some time ago, and they don't know what I'm talking about. Well, we had school clothes, but that wasn't Sunday clothes. They were clean, no holes, nothing was missing, no button, none of that. But when you got home, you took it off, you wore your scrubbies, because that outfit, if it's not dirty, you wear to school again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Then it gets washed, and that's all you have. There's 6 kids to dress, right? But Sundays, we had Sunday clothes. Everybody had either a suit, a dress, my mother, hat, gloves, the whole bit. That was Sunday clothes. That was strictly Sundays.
So all through that period of losing, Sundays was a special time.
Oh, yes. Nobody worked on Sundays. Father made it a point from the beginning. We work all week. Sundays, my father was Protestant, my mother was Catholic, and therefore her children were. And father stayed home, whatever he did, and mother and I, we trotted off to church twice a day, morning and evenings. That was nice.
Was church fun?
I liked singing. I liked the hymns. And I brought with me in 1953 my hymn book. And when I have time, think about it, I pick it up and I sing. I lost some of the melodies, from so long ago.
What is a hymn that you remember, a famous hymn? Could you just sing like a singer?
Ave Maria in German.
Yeah.
Oh, there is so many. The Brahms lullabies.
Could you sing a little bit of Ave Maria?
Oh my God, no.
Just like the first line, just so I can hear it.
I'm not a singer if I haven't sang.
No, you don't have to worry.
How does it go? Ave Maria. Oh, I can't sing. Ave Maria, I can't sing. How about, how does that song go? Oh, I wish you would have told me you was going to ask me this. I could have brought the book and kind of rehearsed how it goes.
Let me ask you about another piece.
I can't do it without the words.
Hey, let me ask you about another piece. We asked a lot of people about music, and in fact, it just comes up in conversations. In most interviews, it comes up music. Because I think at that time of period, music was more important almost than it is today because we have so much input. But a song that comes up constantly, and it comes up from everybody we've interviewed, from Dr. Wagner, who was a German, to we interviewed a man named Franz Gabel, who's Austrian, and to Americans, to an American who was in the army in World War II, is Lilly Marlene. Do you remember? Do you know what that is?
Oh, I have heard it played on records, of course. I have heard her sing that song when you watch a World War II movie on the German side, and yeah, Lilly Marlene, yeah.
Do you remember that from that time? Do you remember hearing it?
Oh yes, of course.
Because it was both recorded in English.
How does that song go?
It's standing under a lamp light by the guardhouse door.
Yeah, now you're using the English words. Auf an der Laterne, la 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 la, steht ne Laterne und steht sie noch davor und alle Leute wollen sehen, wie blah 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 Malaya. Oh, I wish I knew the words to it now. But yeah, I have known the whole song, but I've forgotten it. I didn't know he was going to ask me. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's about Marlene under on the street lamp post.
It's sort of a romantic song. I mean, it's like a love lost song, sort of.
It is a love song, yeah.
And who was the? Do you remember who sang it? I can't remember her name. Lilly Anderson was that the woman who sang it in Germany? Do you know? Or it's not Lolly, it's Lale.
I thought Marlene Dietrich sang that.
Well, she did it in her American version. Yeah. Oh, I have her record at home. What's her name again? Oh, she's got a fabulous low voice. Zara Leander. Her name was Zara Leander. She sang that song, recorded on a German record. I have one record of her in my house today. I brought it over in '53. Zara Leander, yeah.
That's another question is Marlene Dietrich, because I have many copies of Lilly Marlene that I've collected, and Marlene Dietrich, of course, sang it. But I spoke to, like I said, this friend of mine who's 70 years old. She's German, and she was sort of when I first heard it and I asked about it. I said, "Well, Marlene Dietrich sang that," and she was sort of upset that I would say that because Marlene Dietrich really did not make it famous. It was famous before Marlene Dietrich.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she also, she talked a little bit about Marlene Dietrich and things. Do you know much about Marlene Dietrich?
Not when I was a young kid, no. I learned about her being over here in the United States, movies, who she is. And yes, I liked her. And I know she got away from Germany on account of that Hitler stuff, and I don't blame her. She was what, 20, 25 when she took off? Well, then she had knowledge and understood what was going on. I sure didn't.
She was here at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I had a couple people said that oh no. In fact, this one American GI, he actually met the woman in Germany who sang it. He showed me her autograph. What was her name?
Sarah Leander.
Yeah, he met her in Germany after.
Wow.
Yeah. And he heard her singing on stage, and he was so fascinated.
Wow. Yeah.
The woman that really made it famous was Vera Lynn from England.
Oh, that was the English version.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that copy also.
Yeah, it was mostly played in the movies, of course, made in Hollywood, the World War II movies, where the German, you saw some German version where the German soldiers sitting around, daydreaming, thinking of home, listening to that Lily Marlene song, yeah. It's a tearjerker, I suppose.
So did you sing in the choir in church?
No. Just German Catholic Sunday school songs.
Was it a big church?
Oh, yeah. Good heavens, yeah. It's still there today, both of them, really. Mm-hmm.
Does your father being Protestant, staying home, did your father, he didn't go to church?
No, my father didn't go at all, not even to his own. He had work to do. He wasn't going to go to church, and he didn't mind Mama going, of course. Mm-hmm.
So you say you went twice on Sunday?
Mornings and evenings. The early Mass, and then I think about 5, thereabouts, in the evening hours. Mm-hmm. Oh, we had to go. It was a must. I even had to go to church before going to school. They were side by side, still are today if you were to go home. Go out, buy your airplane ticket, go home, you can see it and photograph it. We had to go to church first. No preaching, none of that. The priest would just greet us for another day, and we ought to be good, and we ought to listen to what the teacher says, blah, blah, blah. He would bless us, and that was it. But that had to be first. Next to us, the school.
So what was Christmas like during the war? Was it?
Oh, that was fun. Oh, God, that was fun. Now, try to remember that we didn't know who Chris Kringle was, okay? I just found that out later. Christmas Eve, in the afternoon, first we get bathed. We don't bathe every day like you do today, you know. Sometimes I'm in the shower twice a day, it depends. Christmas Eve, in the morning it starts. In the kitchen, the coal stove has to heat the water. The vat in the basement, that's full. That's being heated. And in the kitchen floor is that monstrous galvanized vat. The ones we use to scrub the clothes, it serves for our bathtub. It gets hauled in the kitchen floor, all the windows closed, and the cleanest of us 6 gets to bathe first. That was never me. It doesn't matter who gets picked first. I don't remember that. But I do remember it was Heinz and me, the last. We were the dirtiest. The one that's 10 years younger than I am. I don't know how he gets so dirty. I know how I get dirty from working. But you bathe in that same water till all 6 of you have been washed. And there is no rinsing off, none of that. Maybe mother, our hair gets rinsed off with clean water, but that's about it. But you do not get out of this water where 6 of them have been in and hop into a shower. That don't exist, okay? We were happy to have that. And what else did she want to know? Oh, Christmas. Yeah. Okay, we get bathed first. Mother had laid out the clothes for us to wear. And as soon as it got dark, our mother was nowhere to be seen. Where'd my mom? Where would he go? My father would say, oh, she went to church. She went to confession. Confession. Yeah, okay, we all believed it. And a Christmas tree. You don't see a Christmas tree in those days in my father's house as you do today, a week before. And besides, the tree was always in my father's bedroom because it's cold in there. Yeah. So first we bathe, then we get dressed. Mother disappears. We were told where she is, okay. And then you heard a chain and a bell. A chain like somebody's dragging a chain up and down stairs, and that makes noises, right? Father says, okay, line up. Here comes Kris Kringle. She's knocking on the door. I'm going to have to let her in. And you be good now. And by 8, we stood in line. In front of the Christmas tree, the bedroom door was open, and there in the corner, on my father's nightstand, everything he had on it, away, and the Christmas tree's there, with real candles burning, lit, and stuff underneath, okay? Toys and stuff. So here opens my father the door, and here comes this creature all dressed in white. And everything is hidden. A veil on the face. Even if you were to do like this, you couldn't see who it was. And gloves and everything, feet, everything was covered up. And she dragged this chain and a bell. And a voice is disguised now, you know. She would come in, and my father would say, Guten Abend, Christkindchen. And she would say, Guten Abend, Herr Wolf. And then my father would introduce us to her. Now you have to, that's all pretending on the parents' part, okay? But we little ones, we ate it up, and we were scared. Sometimes you got whipped, okay, when we were bad. And so father would say, this is my oldest daughter, Theresia. And then Kris Kringle would say, Guten Abend, Theresia, wie geht es dir? Everything disguised. And she would ask me if I was good today and all sort of things like that, on down the line. And when she was finished with us, she insisted we say the Lord's Prayer, which we did. We prayed all together. And a song. And we could pick. Was it Silent Night? Was it any other German Christmas song? We did that. And so before she left, she said, now I have brought you some gifts, and they're under the tree, and your father will give them to you, okay? So she left, and my father behind her. But he stayed gone a little while, okay? And so he came back and says, okay, kids, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. And then he was gone again. So we at least started to whatever we would. I'll get to that in a minute. And then he was gone again. And so years, Christmases later on, the brother next to me with the polio habit, he comes to us and he pushes me and he says, don't you know who that is? And I said, it's Christkindchen. Ach, sei doch nicht so dumm. That's our mother. Nein, mother is in church. Du spinnst. Believe it. This is our mother. And I said, no, it's not. He is the one who figured it out. The disappearance of our mother. Father says, it's just that he's gone. And then doggone it, here he comes some days later. Here comes Habit. And he had all that stuff. And he pushed me aside, wherever it was, and he says, here's your proof. Isn't that what that Christkindchen had on? This is my bedsheet. This is this is that, this is that, this is that. And I said, Habit, you gotta be kidding. No, you watch next year. And doggone it, by next year, we were no more afraid, because it was our mother. And some of us even started to giggle, kind of let our mother and father know, hey, you two, we're not that dumb no more. We know it's Mom. And this is how Christmas was. But the stuff on the table during the war was all stuff we've seen before. It was just repainted. For instance, all girls in Germany in my time, we had doll buggies, pretty ones. They were lined inside with pink taffeta and nice handmade pillows and a doll, whatever, huh? And of course, we play with it during the year. And it gets dirty, maybe damaged. Maybe the wheel needs fixing, okay? So around September, all of our toys disappeared, if you could call them toys. Couldn't figure out where they went. And when I asked my mother, Mother, Marita so-and-so's missing, where is it? And she would say, oh, it's kaput. Your father's got to repair that one. She'll get it back. And then you forget about it, you get sidetracked, you do something else. Doggone it, at Christmas time. I mean, the stuff looks all good and looks all new, but then you had to think, Mama, that looks like the one I had. And then the other sibling would say, well, yeah, don't you remember? That used to have this color, and this was like this, and my doll buggy was pink all summer long, now it's white. My father and my mother, way before Christmas, start taking things away from all of us. And Father did this in the nighttime. Oh, we heard him down there at nights. But who cares what Father does? We had whatever we did. But it was he who repaired, who repainted, Mother on the sewing machine, new dresses for the doll, new pillow, new something. And that was year after year. Our same stuff, just a different face. And you bet your baby it was fun. We were together, and it was even more fun as we grew older, as all of us had our own families. And me and my family being stationed over there for 3 years, seeing all of them, and it had been 9-10 years since we saw them and them us, going home. Christmas always at my father's and mother's. We were 26 in the living room. Great big Christmas tree and a nativity set. And my sister and her family and all down the line, all standing around this tree, singing, praying. My mother then being the grandmothers of her children's children, she had presents for the grandchildren, but not for the grown-ups. Hell spells, it costs a fortune. Children and parents, okay? So mother had to make a limit and tell the grown-ups, hey, I just want you to know this Christmas I can afford all 26 of you through whatever reason, just the kids, and that was fine. But when they came, her children had presents for mother and father. You see what I'm saying? It was fun. Downright it was fun. My father took the dining room and the living room, took all the furniture aside and put tables together, and all 26 of us ate and drank and had fun. I miss that. And that's what my children miss too. This growing up, this Christkindl bit, whether you believe it, whether it's phony, whether whatever reason. As a young kid, you believe it. Christkindl comes from heaven.
So that was pretty ingenious of your mom.
Oh, it was. Hey, my mother wasn't the only one. I'm pretty sure there's women out there who recall the same thing, the same thing went on in their house like that. That was a Catholic belief. We were told Christkindl comes on Christmas and St. Nicholas comes on the 6th of December. It's Nicholas Day. On Nicholas Day, it's vice versa, for crying out loud. It's got to be a guy, right, Nicholas? Well, here comes, it was never my father. He hired somebody else. Well, here comes this guy, not like in America, this red and white bit, but dressed and disguised and stuff. And he had a rucksack and he had a chain, but instead of a bell, he had something to spank with. And I'll tell you what it is, and you put a name to it. Go out on any tree without leaves and cut branches and make a handful that fits in your hand. And on the bottom, you tie it up.
The switch.
Yeah, a switch is only one.
Yeah, I don't know what they call a bunch of them.
It had enough to fit your hand, okay? Not too much, not too little. And with that, you get spanked. Because, you know, just like reversed, sort of, from Kris Kringle, the Nicholas would ask the father and mother, who was bad this year? And my father and mother had lots of them, you know. Oh, Theresia did this, Herbert did this, and this. We didn't like what he did. And then he would take, switch, you call it. Don't do that no more. You mind what your mom is saying, okay? And don't think I won't see. I come back next year. I'll see what you do. And you try to believe this and live with it all year. You cannot be bad. They're up there watching. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I just thought that was the way that your parents handled taking your toys.
Yeah, and we did it all.
I thought, boy, that's pretty smart.
And, well, if they had money to buy a toy, it went for other necessary things first, not toys. Who in the heck needs a toy? Think of clothes and food first. This was my upbringing. Huh?
But I think that what they did, though, I mean, that's it just seems like that your father worked real hard to
My father? No, there is not a well, I don't know about that. But my father was best man out there. I almost died when he died. When my late husband died, I cried. I miss him. But my father was, I cannot put, like your whole world died. When he went, I went. It was hard.
Well, it sounded like he was
That was hard.
an exceptional person.
You know how he repaid me? Of course, I never. Okay, let me say this. My late husband and I bought a brand new double white with our own piece of land on it in 1979 here in town, Hawkesbury. And of course, I write to my folks. I write, I answer, blah, blah, blah. Wrote to my mother that we're thinking of doing this because we lived in Tacoma and the Royal Oaks for 2 years, okay? And wrote to my mother and wrote to my mother. Father never wrote, but of course, if I write to mother, I write to all of them. And wrote to my mother that we were going to think of buying our own something. I don't know yet what. And then I remember writing, I said, Mom, so-and-so has happened. We're moving. We bought so-and-so. This is where it's going to be. And then I wrote, and that was the one that opened up everything. Then I wrote and I said that we're here and we got lots of work to do. I described everything is a jungle. Trees got to be taken out, blah, 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 the skirting on the house. We need a fence. We want a fence. So-and-so, and this needs doing. That was in August. 1st of October, 1979, go to SeaTac and pick them up. They were there for 10 months. They came over for 10 months and worked 6 days a week. Not 7, 6. In our weather, I had to show my German mother how to operate our American appliances, especially the dryer. Her father would work, he gets wet, He comes in to change clothes. Of course, he had it, but the others had to get dried and washed. My late husband and I, we both had jobs. We were in Tacoma, him at Fort Lewis. We were working all day long. And my German parents, all alone for 10 months, putting up a cedar fence, making this place livable for 10 months. And my neighbors are still my neighbors today. And I got pictures and times and dates, they can tell you. And in hindsight, my father did that for me because I helped him. Because if my father hadn't come, it would have taken us years to finish. And I'll tell you something else. It would not have been as good as my father did it.
What was your, just a question we asked quite a few people. What was your best day during that period, 1939 to 1945?
Coming to the United States. As much as I loved my father, but I lived under his roof and under his command for 22 years. And no daughter or son in any family in those days talks back, no matter how old you are, to your parents. Whether you like it or not, you do not talk back to your parents. And I had enough. I wanted out. I had enough of all this 22 years, huh? Well, minus the years in diapers I spent, you know what I mean. It was time to get out of there. I've had it. And I came over here. Not a bit of roses, but better than Germany.
So do you miss Germany sometimes?
I do as I grew older. In the first years, heck no. Some foods I miss, sure, you know. Stuff you grew up with. You miss your family, your immediate family, but Germany itself, forget it. I mean, to me, it's nice to visit. But being Americanized after 49 years, I mean, you know, how can you pull me away from here? There's no way. No, I'm here to stay.
So when you talking to people and people that kid you and give you the Nazi salute and stuff like that, does that are you proud? You're proud of your heritage? Or?
Oh, of course I am. I just don't like the Hitler years, because when I first came over here in 1953, my father-in-laws, if you will, they were, yeah. They wanted to ask me all sorts of things about the war. I couldn't tell them anything. I don't know nothing about the war. I think you know more today than they at that time. But keep in mind, today I can talk to you about it. At that time, I just knew, yes, okay, and hand signs. Mm-hmm. And what Hitler did, of course I'm not proud of it. I wish it never happened. But it did. But it wasn't my fault. It's never the children's fault. It's just a time that it happened and you lived through it, survived it. That's it.
That for all the deprivation of those years, it sounds like your mother and father, that for all the deprivation and the lack of things, it sounds like that you had a good family life and there were moments that there was a happy childhood.
My parents were good parents. They were lovable parents. They just had too many kids so fast in a bad time. I'm sure when they married, they didn't picture anything that came along, you know, when they married in 1930, who knew there was going to be a war and the house was going to be bombed 15 years later? I mean, you know.
Did you ever have any anger towards the bombers?
No, because I didn't understand it. I didn't.
They were just something to fear.
It just happened. And look, in hindsight, what the heck? Hitler was a guy that needed to be rid of, and every country fought for their country. Huh? I didn't fight for my country. I was a girl and a kid. My father, that one year he was missing, if it was a year, he did it because he had to, and it was for his country. The British did all this bombing and doing. They fought to save their lives and country. Come on, it's just a little common sense.
Was what I mean though, it's just on your personal level.
Nah.
Was it just something that was it just fear, scary that when you heard planes come over?
Of course we were scared. Of course we didn't like it, but it was there. You accepted. You had no other choice.
Afterwards, a lot of people we talked to, their lives have been changed in little ways, and when you heard after the war, when you heard planes come over, what was your first thought? Did you associate with what had happened before?
What do you mean after the war the planes came over? What do you mean?
Oh, I'm saying that a lot of it. We talked to a veteran yesterday who, to this day, will not sit with his back to a door because of his experiences during the war. That he always sits with his back to a wall so he can see who's ever coming in, and some people that respond to noises. That like one man when he hears